Okay, hello everyone. Welcome. My name is Felicia Salcedo, and I'm the Executive Director of We Are In. We Are In launched in 2019 a unique collaboration of philanthropies, businesses, providers, concerned citizens, and people with lived experience of homelessness in King County. We work alongside government leaders in King County with the shared goal of solving homelessness through a county-wide approach, and we advocate for more affordable homes. We want to acknowledge the elected officials who are here today, some of whom you'll be hearing from soon: Mayor Harrell, Executive Constantine, and Councilmember Lewis. Thank you also for the leadership and support of former Governor Gregoire, who has worked so hard over the past few months with the members of Challenge Seattle to address chronic homelessness. Today we are here to announce a groundbreaking initiative funded by We Are In member organizations and implemented by the King County Regional Homeless Authority. Behind me right now is the skyline of downtown Seattle, an iconic symbol of our region, but also home to one of the highest concentrations of people experiencing homelessness anywhere in the country. This is a humanitarian crisis, one that many elected officials and leaders have tackled over the years, but thanks to a combination of rising home prices, a lack of affordable housing supply, and insufficiently scaled resources, the problem has only become worse. Today we announce a new approach, an approach that brings forward the innovative spirit of our region as government, businesses, philanthropies, and those with personal experience of homelessness come together as partners. Partners united in the belief that all residents of King County deserve a safe, stable place to call home. Please join me in welcoming our first speaker on Partnership for Zero, the visionary CEO of the King County Regional Homeless Authority, Mark Dones.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. My name is Mark Dones. I use they, them pronouns. I am Black, and we do believe in greeting each other when we speak. I want to first welcome everyone and say thank you for being here. I also want to, say thank you to these are not the right talking points for me. I also want to say thank you to the Mayor Harrell, Executive Constantine, Governor Gregoire, and everyone who has been supportive of this initiative, both public and private sector. I need to be really clear. There is actually no such thing as a good homelessness announcement. That's not a real thing. The only good homelessness announcement is the one where we say, everyone is housed. That's not today. What we are saying today is we're going to commit to getting there. The announcement of the Partnership for Zero is something that I am personally proud of because it is not about me. I'm actually not that clever. It is about our community saying collectively, we can and will do better. That's what today is. Downtown is home to the largest concentration of unsheltered folks in the county. And indeed, as Felicia said, it is one of the largest concentrations of folks experiencing unsheltered homelessness in this country. And what today represents is a group of folks who are uniquely positioned to come together and say, that is unacceptable. People deserve better. They deserve to know that their community cares about them and is doing everything in its power to make sure that they have the resources that they need to find the pathways into housing. I also want to be really clear that we would not be here today without listening to the voices of people with lived experience. I want to be especially grateful to Dr. Lamont Green, who has been a collaborator, an accountability partner, someone who has yelled at me and also helped me over the course of now almost 5 years from his position both in government and also as the founder of the Lived Experience Coalition. That relationship and the relationship with others who are here today is at the center of the work that we are doing. And in fact, what we are proposing is that we make relationships the center of our work. The Partnership for Zero will stand up a unified command center that will use a peer navigation approach to work with folks to understand what it is they need and get them those things so that they have a path inside. It is not about prescribing a thing. It is not about knowing what is best for people. It is about believing that we know what is best for ourselves and that everyone deserves the basic dignity of being able to express that and have it be heard. I also want to be clear that I stand here as a queer, non-binary black person with my own lived experience, and that is in and of itself different. What you are seeing here today is not a culmination, it is a beginning. But it is a beginning that we should be deeply proud of and that we should lift up not just as a pathway forward for our community, but as a pathway forward for our country. Thank you for your time today, and I want to introduce Mayor Harrell.
Okay, I'm going to bounce a little bit. I got to get my juices flowing. A little cold. Now you see why we hired Mark. You see why we hired Mark. I want to first start off with some thanks, because this is not a victory lap. This is the beginning of a lap. This kind of partnership, quite candidly, is what I ran on, what I believe in. People like Lamont's heart and soul putting into this work, Mark's leadership. We have givers here, and I'm going to read down some lists, and I'm going to ask you to bear with me. Amazon, Balmer Group, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Microsoft Philanthropies, Starbucks. They're putting skin in the game, putting real resources at work. Alaska Airlines, Boeing Commercial Airplanes, Campion Foundation, Costco, Expedia Group, Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, JP Morgan Chase Pacific Northwest, Kaiser Permanente Washington, Madrona Venture Group, Nordstrom, Path, Puget Sound Energy, Rakes Foundation, REI, Russell Investments, Schultz Family Foundation, Seattle Foundation, St. Michel Wine Estates, Symetra, T-Mobile, Weyerhaeuser, Zillow Group. And let me tell you today, based on an article that talked about this kind of partnership between government and philanthropy and our employers, today I've already secured two more names to this list. Two more names. A person called me and said, our company is not on this list. And I said, you're missing out on what we're doing here in Seattle. So this is a growing list, but we have to acknowledge the people that are coming forward. I also want to acknowledge, I know we'll hear from Councilmember Lewis in a moment, the City Council. Last year and the years before, many of whom I'm meeting with, even councils in the past. Councilmember Juarez, Mosqueda, Lewis, Sawant, Strauss, Morales, Herbold, Peterson, and Nelson, and former Councilmember Lorena Gonzalez, all of their work, and former Mayor Durkin. Those were leaders in the past whose shoulders we are on it to celebrate this day. And I think it's very important that we don't stand here and beat our chest too hard. And we acknowledge that what we're trying to do now is the story of Seattle. That we realize we have our friends and our neighbors and our loved ones and people who care about living in tents. So when we talk about in the city of Seattle removing tents, clearing our sidewalks, clearing our parks, yes, we want to do that. But what's driving it is we want to house people. We want to get them the treatment that they need and they deserve. That is Seattle at its best. That is Seattle at its best, and that's what this is about today. These folks here are putting their leadership skills into play. Now, when we talk about a partnership for zero, that's really a cool thing to talk about, but that is our aspiration. That's the victory lap. And so I'm so just proud to say that in my 6 weeks in office, that I'm able to stand on the work that has been done before me, and that's what we're going to do. But you know, I say I bounce around a lot because I have a lot of energy. And I have to tell you that I'm just proud to work with my friends. I think King County, Dow Constantine and I were like joined at the hip. I don't know how many press conferences we've been doing on different things, but this, I can't speak for you, but this feels pretty good to me. It feels good to you too? It feels very good because we're working together. Councilmember Lewis, Feels pretty good to not beat each other up in the newspapers. The public wants to see us working together. Governor, thank you. It feels good to have former leaders and current leaders working together. That's what this is going to be about in Seattle. This is, Mark, this is, well, you said I can't say it's good news. So I'm going to follow your leadership and say it's the beginning of some good news. It's the beginning of some good news today. Thank you very much for being here. One Seattle. Oh, and now, my friend, Dr. Lamont Green here, who's going to show you what continued leadership looks like. Thank you, Dr. Green.
Thank you, Mayor. Wow, I thought this was going to be inside, so I'm dressed a little bit shantily today. Good afternoon. So Dr. King once stated, too often being homeless is considered a personal and a moral failing when it's actually a structural and political problem that makes visible the growing inequalities of our society. The inequality that Martin Luther King was so committed to changing into racial equity and social justice is so important. With growing homelessness and the biases surrounding our unhoused neighbors, we often pathologize our unhoused neighbors while forgetting the persistent drivers of inequity steeped in the root causes of indigenous invisibility, racism, cisgenderism, ableism, and heterosexism, to name a few. Together with King County Regional Homeless Authority, we are in, and the Seattle-King County chapter of the Washington State Lived Experience Coalition, we recognize more now than ever that those closest to the problem are closest to the solution, but often furthest from power and resources. This is why the King County Regional Homeless Authority and We Are In was fully co-designed by our unhoused neighbors and people with lived experience of homelessness. The inclusion of people with lived expertise is essential to the success of this partnership. Too often, those closest to the problem have been on the menu, not at the table as an equal partner with shared decision-making power. By sharing power with people with lived expertise, Partnership for Zero is operating in a very different way than what has been done before. This work requires that we recognize the complexity and diversity of the human experience. In my own personal experience with homelessness and interacting with the system, I know that peer outreach and a by-name list have the potential to make a transformative difference for our community. A by-name list is more than a data point. It allows us to know who is experiencing unsheltered homelessness and what their individual needs are. The evidence is replete regarding peer outreach having a positive impact on the outcomes for people experiencing homelessness, such as reductions in drug and alcohol use, increasing mental and physical health, and increasing social support that all lead to better housing and stability outcomes. In my own recovery from homelessness and crack cocaine addiction, peer supports has been and continues to be an essential part of my recovery. Without this, I would probably be dead or in prison. I am proud of and encouraged by the role that the Lived Experience Coalition has in this partnership. By coming together to build a more humanizing approach, I know that we can make a difference, a transformative difference, for the folks experiencing homelessness in our community. Other communities will be able to look to this partnership as an example of what is possible when we invest in strategies that address barriers identified by racially marginalized and historically disenfranchised groups. Partnership for Zero marks a critical first step forward toward getting everyone in need on a path from homeless to housed and building a more equitable community. I am hopeful that the Partnership for Zero approach will prove successful in our downtown Seattle core inspiring more community partnerships to believe in this work and join the effort to expand the model across the region. Partnership for Zero is truly a partnership, and part of what makes that partnership work is that some of the largest businesses in our region are coming to the table to find solutions to homelessness alongside of those who are experiencing homelessness. I would like to introduce our next speaker, Michelle Seitz, the Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of Russell Investments and Co-Chair of Challenge Seattle.
Wow, these are big shoes to fill. I speak for a living, but those are powerful, powerful words. I'll start off by saying business is in. This is our home too. We care deeply about the health and success of all members of our community. I want to thank Mayor Harrell, Executives Constantine and Dones, and also Dr. Green for sharing such a powerful story. I'm here as co-chair of Challenge Seattle, and on behalf of all of our members that the mayor ran through, which was incredibly powerful. We believe the coalition of businesses, philanthropic organizations, and local government can make tremendous impact. We live here together, we work here together, we're in this together. It's our powerful combination, private, public, and philanthropic, that makes a difference. We saw this firsthand and we're very encouraged. We're a symbol. I actually met Mark Dones on a Fortune magazine conference call asking how we can make positive impacts on our communities. And we were very proud to talk about the private-public partnership that occurred throughout COVID. We've navigated successfully both for emergency PPE as well as for mass vaccinations to lead the country in vaccinations currently in our region. And so we're very encouraged. We fully support Partnership for Zero. The authority has a fabulous plan. It's a plan that's supported by strategies that have proven to succeed elsewhere around the country with very great results. We did a report back in the spring, Challenge Seattle, putting a spotlight on many of these strategies, and we couldn't be more confident in Executive Doan's ability to execute on this. I especially want to thank all of the support. Our lead fundraiser, our lead funder is Balmer Group, and it's also supported by every member, 100% participation of Challenge Seattle members, and many other business partners that the mayor's going to get after very quickly, and we'll put peer pressure upon as well. And not to forget the philanthropic organizations. So many of our dedicated community workers have tremendous impact on this homelessness situation. We want to join in all of those efforts and make a sustainable, lasting, positive difference in Partnership for Zero. We are in, will continue to be in, and we look forward and are encouraged that the governor supports legislation that's on the table, I understand today, for up to $450 million in addition to our contributions to make a quick impact, both with our monies, effective now, as well as in time with housing and crisis centers that are much needed. I just want to close and say that Russell Investments has called Washington home for 85 years. Challenge Seattle members call this home. We raise our families here. And as Mark said, every resident deserves to have a healthy and flourishing environment in their home. We want to help lift people up. We're here to make our communities healthier and better. And we will win, we will succeed, because the path alternatively is not palatable. So together, we will do everything that we plan. Thank you very much. And I think who do I have next?
Okay, our next speaker is one of the main reasons that we're all standing here today. a leader who championed the King County Regional Homeless Authority creation from day one. Please welcome the executive of King County, Dow Constantine.
Thank you so much. It is an exciting day, and I want to start by thanking everyone who's helping make this possible. The strength of King County is really in our communities, in the ties that bind us to one another, and that really does mean all of us. And we're grateful today for the support of so many leaders in the business and philanthropic community, including our lead contributor, the Balmer Group. They have been with us through a lot of efforts over the years, and it is no surprise to see them once again at the head of the pack here helping make this happen. And thanks to all of our businesses and private foundations for stepping up to fund this initiative, Partnership for Zero. It brings more direct outreach to the people who are experiencing homelessness today. You know, the reality is that homelessness happens in every place, in every community across our region. I mean, it might look different here in downtown Seattle, and it's more visible to those of you here with the cameras in downtown Seattle, but it exists on the east side, it exists in South King County, and I have gone and met with people experiencing homelessness in those regions, and they share the same challenges as those you manage to film down here all the time. They share the challenge of needing to get inside to be able to get their feet under them again, to be able to reclaim their lives and their dignity. And we want to help them do that. You know, what you're seeing here today is people from across the public and private sectors working together, seeking ways to meaningfully address a significant shared challenge that we face. And today's announcement, and really the creation of the Homeless Authority to start with, shows that we have the strength and resolve and dedication to do right by all the people of King County. And Michelle made mention of the creation of the Homeless Authority, as did Felicia. You know, that was an act of us collectively seeking to unify our efforts, and it required people to do something they don't do naturally, which is to give up power, to give up control, to give up authority. The county and the city council members, county council members, they voted to say, we think that this could work better if we unified our efforts and that we open the door and allow in as full partners those with lived experience in all the other cities that are at various stages of their work in seeking to help with this challenge. And I just need to make mention of the fact that there are a couple people here who were instrumental from our side of the street in helping make that happen. Shannon Braddock, our chief of staff, is here today. And our former deputy executive, who abandoned me to run the Chamber of Commerce, Rachel Smith, as well, is here today. All is forgiven, Rachel. You know, many of those here today have been closely involved with bringing the Regional Homeless Authority into being. And what we have in common, I think, is this. We will continue to take on these tough challenges together. We are committed to the proposition that unsheltered homelessness is inhumane, is unacceptable, and that it must and will be solved. And we must do all we can to end chronic homelessness here in downtown, but as I said before, it doesn't stop here. We're collaborating with Mark and with the authority on expanding Partnership for Zero to more communities outside of Seattle. And this approach, rooted in compassion and equity, as well as determination and data, will prove its effectiveness. We will continue in partnership with the new Regional Homeless Authority to get people off the streets, to get people into housing, and to give them the opportunity to reclaim their lives and their dignity. And today's announcements, the partnerships, the investments, the collaboration, really are a testament to what's possible when people are willing to give up some of their power and authority to work collectively together toward a common goal. So let's continue that work with our partners in Olympia, with our partners around King County to meet the moment we have in front of us. Let's build on today for meaningful, people-centered change for our region. Thank you so much for a remarkable day of announcements.
Thank you, Executive. So our next speaker is here representing the enormous level of support from private philanthropy that has made Partnership for Zero possible. Numerous foundations and businesses have made critical contribution, but there's special thanks going to Connie and Steve Ballmer. Connie and Steve's generosity alongside fellow funders like Sonia and Tom Campion and Tricia and Jeff Rakes, has sustained We Are In from day one. On behalf of Ballmer Group, please welcome Washington Executive Director Andy Smith.
All right, thank you. And take a page from your book and jump. So good afternoon. As Felicia said, my name is Andy Smith. I'm the Executive Director of Ballmer Group Washington, the private philanthropy of Connie and Steve Ballmer. Thank you to Mayor Harrell, to Executive Constantine, Councilman Lewis, of course Governor Gregoire, and all of our elected officials down in Olympia working on a fantastic capital budget. Thank you for your leadership in this work. So I'm here today to speak about why private philanthropy and Ballmer Group are a lead investor in this approach put forward by the authority. I've basically got four things. So first, we are fortunate to have a regional homelessness authority and are eager to support its work. Philanthropy has worked for several years now to align our thinking and resources in support of a common goal, ending homelessness in King County. Yes, we could all do our own thing and invest in the approaches that each of our philanthropies thinks is best. But instead, we've decided to align our work and work together. And that's exactly what the authority does. It pools and aligns resources from the city and from the county to invest and respond collectively to this homelessness emergency. At Ballmer Group, we actually invest in this nationwide. We've seen it work across the nation, and we believe it can work here. Second, we are in an emergency, and we need proven approaches that can be implemented quickly. The model that the authority is putting forward, creating a by-name list and a unified command center, has been used to great effect in other cities, as the Challenge Seattle report has indicated. We believe it can be implemented here well. Third, outcomes and data. What we like about this plan is that its foundation is on shared outcomes that Mark and their team will develop with their partners. It's data that is gathered both at the individual level, so that services can be better for somebody's daughter who's on the street today, and importantly, that individual data stacks together so we know how the system is performing. And finally, Ballmer Group is investing in this work because the authority is committed to public transparency and accountability. I think that we have all seen mounting levels of frustration about the growing number of people who are living outside and our collective inability to change it. One of the aspects that we really appreciated about this approach was a willingness to be transparent with the public. Here's what we're doing, here's what's going well, and here's what's not going well. We need to make sure that people understand what is going on so they are invested in our collective success. So with that, I would just say that we are excited to be part of this great group of people standing in coalition. We think this is complicated, hard work, and it's a great role for philanthropy, and we are excited to be a part of it. Thank you.
Okay. Businesses are a key part of the private funding for Partnership for Zero, and we're thankful for the support of companies like Symetra, Amazon, and Microsoft Philanthropies, among many others. Our last speaker represents one of the most important employers in Seattle, a company that has been synonymous with our city for decades. From Starbucks, please welcome Camille Hines, Vice President of U.S. Community Impact.
Thank you, Felicia, for your introduction and partnership in this important work. I am delighted to be here with such an impressive group of leaders from government, philanthropy, and business, and our friends at Challenge Seattle. This year, Starbucks is celebrating its 50th anniversary. And since the very beginning, right here in Seattle, our aspiration has been to be a different kind of company, one that works to strengthen and uplift our local communities. Listening to our partners and customers, we know chronic homelessness is one of the most pressing issues our city is facing. Those who are unsheltered may not only face housing challenges, but need supportive services to address health needs, mental or behavioral health challenges, and substance use disorders. Partners in our store serve and support customers in need every day. So when we learned of this opportunity to build our long-standing commitment to our hometown, the first question we asked ourselves was, will this partnership meet the challenges we face together as a community? And secondly, will it make our partners proud? After spending time with the incredible leaders and experts informing this work and learning about the bold vision and aspirations for change, I have no doubt this partnership will do both. Today, we're proud to join the Partnership for Zero to support those experiencing chronic homelessness, starting in the downtown Seattle neighborhood. This is not a small task, and we can't solve it alone. We believe joining others in this shared goal is the right path forward. Through this partnership, we hope to serve as a leader in business community and a convener to drive innovative solutions. We hope to, one, share insights from experiences in our own stores through our outreach worker program pilot, currently active in cities across the country, including here in Seattle. We are learning how to support partners in highly complex stores by equipping them with social workers and community organizations that connect customers to critical needs, tools, and resources. And two, in keeping with our culture of coffee and connection, we hope to convene others to support collaboration. We know that public-private partnerships hold great potential. Last year, we partnered with public health and government leaders here in Washington to address accelerated and equitable vaccine distribution. And here again, we convene with others to support urgent action. Our stores and our partners serve the community and are of the community. There is no greater opportunity we have together than tackling chronic homelessness. So we look forward to the road ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for attending and listening today about the new public-private collaboration partnership for Zero. As you heard, today is only the beginning. Each of us here, along with countless public servants, providers, and advocates, will be working tirelessly to make this vision a reality. As we demonstrate the success of this model, we hope to bring it to communities across King County and take you along with us on every step of the journey. Thank you again, and we'll take a few minutes of questions.
A couple thoughts. So, for folks who couldn't hear, the question was, do I think the goal of having 30 people-ish unsheltered in the downtown core in about a year is feasible? My answer is twofold. One, straightforwardly, based on the data, yes. And then secondly, straightforwardly, based on what we have to do to help people, yes, right? Like we can't keep saying in our community, this is too hard to do, this is not possible to do. We have a responsibility to say, this is what we must do, so this is what we will do. I also want to be clear that the system currently produces 6,000 housing exits per year, right? So what we are talking about is not beyond the scope or scale of what we are currently able to do. What we are talking about is putting dedicated effort behind ensuring that the most vulnerable people in our community get the support that they need. The other thing that I'll be clear about, and Lamont could speak to this as well, is that to your point about when people need the help, right, or want the help, I should say, people want help. That's actually never the issue. The question is the help the right help? Right? And what we often do is say to people, the help we have is the right help. That is not the appropriate way to approach people, right? The appropriate way to approach people is to say, what do you need? And as Lamont pointed out, peer navigators and peer support systems for 30 years have demonstrated that if we ask people what they need, prioritize building the relational infrastructure that can support them in getting it, that the pathways tighten up, right? So many of the things that we provide, right, are these leaky hallways where, like, yes, we put people on a path, but the question of whether or not they can remain on it, right, whether or not they can get all the way to housing, we see people like drop out constantly. It's the relational architecture that we see in communities that have implemented this well, right, that actually drives success. And, in terms of like the level of difficulty, I will just say, peer navigation and peer supports are now the gold standard in the behavioral health system, right? There is a SAMHSA manual on peer navigation. So I just want to be clear that what we are proposing, as others have highlighted, is actually in keeping with the best we know to do, not some remarkable innovation that we have discovered.
I don't think this is really about housing. Don't you have to treat people, alcohol, drug addiction, mental illness? They don't want to be in places, shelters, because they don't want to be told what to do. Isn't
That's not correct.
Well,
people don't want to be in shelters because the shelters that we offer are inhumane. And much has been done to shape our shelter system to be better over the course of COVID by de-intensifying it, by making it by making non-congregate spaces the norm, right? That in and of itself has already boosted the number of people who are seeking shelter placements because they know that those shelter placements will be humane.
Mark, how much is this ultimately? There's obviously a lot of providers who are working downtown now who have case managers and do have this experience. Is this a vote of no confidence in the existing system? And why not sort of invest more in what's already out there?
It's not at all a vote of no confidence in the existing system. And one of the things that our model proposes, right, is ongoing daily coordination, cooperation, engagement with the folks who are currently doing that work. We also are looking at ways to make investments, to your point, in the folks who are currently doing that work in the downtown core in particular, so that they are able to, move alongside the peer navigators very closely. Just yesterday, I spoke with one outreach director for over an hour about how to optimize the ecosystem when peer navigators come online, where we can orient peers versus where the existing resources should be oriented. So one of the things about a UCC model that I'm actually really excited about is that it gives us a place to have these conversations and a place to really do that alignment in a way that makes good sense. Also, it's good to see you.
Mark, when are we going to start seeing all of this in action? How much is this all going to cost? And ultimately, how do you measure success? What does that look like for you guys?
Measuring success in any homelessness system is housing people. So that is a very straightforward, that is the thing we do. That's how we know if what we're doing is working. When does it start? It's started. We are here doing an announcement, but the director for this project has been on board for quite some time. As I mentioned, we've been in conversation with providers. We've posted jobs. This is in flight.
How much is this all going to cost? Can you just tell us the cost?
Total cost in terms of this amount of work?
this initiative, the cost, the dollar figure? How much is this all going to cost?
I mean, this is catalytic investment coming from the private sector, but this is the weight of the current system behind it as well, in addition to investment coming from the city and county and other places. So that cost, right, is in the tens of millions of dollars in terms of doing the work. And I also want to be clear, as I've been clear from the beginning, our system doesn't have enough money. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to say it repeatedly, right? And we are heartened by what is happening in Olympia because it will perhaps give us additional dollars to particularly bring online spaces for people to be, which I think is an important concern and one that we should continue to raise. I think I missed the beginning. Can you? Got it. So, yes, we're going to hire in tranches, right? We've identified that in terms of keeping caseloads appropriate and, frankly, helping to de-intensify caseloads for some of the people who are currently working, that we might go up to 70, but we're going to start tranching in to get about 30 folks. Yes, living wage. I think living wage is really important. I will take this opportunity to plug. It shouldn't just be the peer navigators who get living wages, right? Everyone in our sector needs to get a living wage, and in order to do that, again, the amount of investment necessary is quite a bit, and we need to be having that conversation routinely until we get the appropriation to get there. And the key difference in terms of peer supports, simplified, two big things. One, they are longitudinal, right? Meaning that peer supports are designed so that a person is able to walk alongside you, right? All the way from your experience, unsheltered through and often into housing, right? Currently, we don't have many models that are able to do that. We don't have none, but we don't have many, right? So really boosting that capacity is critical to making this all work. And remind me the second part of that.
Well, just in-house different, because right now we see the
Yes. So the key difference is that longitudinal capacity, right? So again, what we hear from people over and over and over again is, I don't have a relationship, right? And I want to be really clear, right? That lack of relationship, oftentimes people get housed, and the lack of relationship is then how the housing placement unwinds. It's not that the voucher doesn't work or that they don't this is just if we're being real, right? I've had multiple conversations with folks who wind up unhoused again, right? Because their placement is far away from everybody that they know, and they don't feel any connection to that new community, and they don't have anyone to reach out to have that conversation, right? So the longitudinal support here, right? Having a person, right, is critical to making our system work. And again, I just want to credit the Lived Experience Coalition and Lamont in particular for really continuing to lift up that if we don't prioritize those relationships, we should not expect any shift.